Hiya folks, I just got back from the driving lesson with Tony for the 12th of October this morning. I try and get through as brief as I can. It was a lot easier today. We were doing things that I'd done before, but the things we added today that we almost didn't get a chance to do were the reverse bay parking. I didn't have time for parallel parking, so we went first into Tavistock and we did Rocky Hill when we got there after doing the roundabouts around Drake's. Roundabouts were a lot easier this time. I did lots of roundabouts. I was doing the approach better. Second gear for approach to roundabouts, slowing down, looking right. I've only just started getting into lane placement for roundabouts properly, like looking for the arrows on the floor. I haven't been able to look for the arrows on the floor yet. It's a little bit difficult to do that in the Peugeot 208 because you are in a box with tiny windows. But yeah, we saw a video of it. He played a video on his iPad thing of approach to a roundabout and you could see the arrows on the floor, but you couldn't really see the arrows on the floor very well from just sitting in the car. Anyway, we did the Drake statue roundabout. Goosey Fair's all cleared out now, but there's a little bit of junk in the Meadowlands car park and strangely busy in the Wharf car park where we tried to go to do a manoeuvre, but it was all kind of too busy and kind of blocked off, and there was no entry signs and stuff. So we went past Drake statue, we went past the Spa roundabout, we went to the top roundabout, went around the left of that to Tavy Hospital and then into the estates, and then we did Rocky Hill, and we did like 3 separate approaches of Rocky Hill because I told him I got it wrong every time so far. This time we did it a few times to the point where I got it nearly right by the 3rd go. So the first time I mean it's so tight, and you come to the top and it's a concealed entrance, so you can't see where you're meant to be turning right, and you need first gear before that, and I did it first in second gear, which meant I was coming, even though I was going slow, I was going too fast to turn right, and then you get funneled down the steep downhill zigzag. It's very sharp, and it's even narrower this time because there were parked cars there. A couple of pedestrians. The first time there was a pedestrian that appeared out of nowhere from the right while I was trying to work out, like, is it clutch up or brake down sort of thing, or when to clutch down and when to brake, and I clutched down early before I braked, and as a result we picked up speed instead of slowing down. I keep thinking that at all times clutch can act like as a brake, but it's actually only in certain circumstances, on the flat normally, where clutch can act as a brake, like in car parks and stuff. But not coming down a hill, you actually pick up speed because you're cutting out the engine braking. So I clutched down and then braked, and I sped up and then had to brake quite suddenly as the pedestrian appeared. So that didn't go too well, so we went around, did the circuit again, up to Rocky Hill, did the top of Rocky Hill again. I got first gear before we approached, but I still swung out wide. There's a point where you have to come up off the clutch as soon as you turn in to the Rocky Hill, and I jolted that I think every time, so I haven't got that one right where I come off the clutch too fast going in there. I haven't figured out how to brake while coming off the clutch. I haven't figured that out in my mind yet. So we went tight in there. This time there was a guy on his phone by the car. I went extra slow and he eventually stepped back so we could go through the tiny gap. Couldn't perceive the edge of the car too well, but Tony didn't take the wheel, so I must have done something right. I went tight. I wanted to go right every time because there was a mix-up the first few times I did it as to whether we're going right or left, which just confused the issue. Went down to the line. This time I did something slightly different by accident, which worked, which was I braked first and then I clutched down before I came to a stop with brake. That seemed to work. Seemed a lot smoother. Came to a stop with a line, and then just slowly pulling outward. No gas, absolutely no acceleration, just kind of letting go of the brake to drag me forward. because of the steep hill, and only coming off the biting point high when I had a clear view either side. So that worked better. And then we did one more loop, and that's the best I could get it after that because I came round in first. Did the turn okay. I still did that jolt as I was turning in, where I was coming off with the clutch with a jolt because I can't brake and clutch at the same time. Anyway, did that, and I thought, okay, that's as good as we're going to get today. Let's squeeze in some other stuff. So he drove me up to Morrison's car park. So first he tried to take us up to the Wharf car park, I think. As I said, didn't work out, it was congested, so we went to Morrison's car park, which gave me some chances to do a few roundabouts. I told him about what I was saying in the video last time, not knowing on approach whether I'm approaching a mini roundabout or a main roundabout and treating them differently. And I was saying I wanted to treat them all the same so I could indicate left at all of them. Because sometimes we were saying indicate left as a courtesy on a mini roundabout. Don't indicate left at other mini roundabouts. Only indicate left when leaving main roundabouts and stuff like that. So it's a mix up in my head basically. So I wanted to treat them all the same, and he said you can do that. You could treat them all the same, indicate left. You don't need to because you're in the left hand lane and there's arrows on the road that you have to look at. And if it's straight forward, you don't need to indicate on the arrow on the road. If it's like a left arrow on the painted white arrow on the road, then you do indicate. Even though they look very similar to each other, the straight forward and the left turn, actually in practice when you're looking at them, they both look like a gradual left turn. So yeah, he said you can indicate left for all of them. It's just that you have to cancel the signal as soon as you leave the roundabout, whatever happens, because you come quickly across other roads on your left, and they might be confused about your signal left being kept on off the roundabout, and they might pull out in front of you out of a junction, thinking that you're going into the same road that they're coming out of, when you're not. You're just forgetting to cancel your signal. So I've got to get on to signal cancellation after junctions and roundabouts. I've also got to get on to look at the road markings approaching roundabouts. As for how I was approaching roundabouts, I was doing it well. At junctions, turning left, I wasn't hugging the curb to go left enough. And part of that was not going slow enough on approach to the junction, like where you're going to have to stop or go in first gear. I handled looking for traffic on the right really well this time. We got into Morrison's and we did the reverse bay park. So the references are slightly different on the reverse bay park. Other than that, it's easier than the forward bay park to do. So you go past the bays on, let's say you're going to do a left reverse bay park. You go past the bay, keeping to the right of the road so you have enough room to swing out when you're reversing. You go past in a straight line, so you're 90 degrees to the parkings on your left that you're going to pull into. You're going straight. You stop straight with enough room. You put it into reverse. You have to do a lot of checking all around whenever you do any of those reverse maneuvers. You have to be constantly looking all around the car. Every mirror, every blind spot, even out the back. So you start chugging backwards when you're straight and 90 degrees to the parking you want behind your left ear, let's say, and then as soon as you start reversing backwards, you look out your left blind spot behind the passenger, and I think it's one white line centered in your mirror, and that white line, I believe, is the white line that ends up on your left, to the left of the passenger side when you finish. So that's the white line that is like framed in your left blind spot. And as soon as you see that reference, it's actually between the back of the headrest of the passenger and the end, at least in the Peugeot 208 that I was driving, the black bar in the window that ends the left hand of that window blind spot. Once that line appears as a little diagonal in that box framed, because it's like a tiny little porthole, and so it's like you've got an aiming reticle and a white line appears in that tiny space you've got to look through. As soon as that happens, you do full left-hand lock and all the way to the left. You're still moving very slowly on the clutch, and that around there should drag you slowly. You'll keep looking around for things. That'll drag you slowly into the space. It might be off left or right. It's difficult to straighten up. It's difficult to make adjustments as you're coming in case you get it wrong. But that gets you roughly in. So first you look out to your left blind spot mirror, the little discs I was talking about, the circular discs you stick on the left mirrors. And at that point you see the left white line come into view, and then after that you see the right white line come into view in the other blind spot mirror on your right. And at that point you can start to judge when to straighten up. Then you go back, and then we were using the reversing camera to find out when to stop before you hit the curb, but I think I'm over reliant on that. It comes up quick after that point when you straighten up anyway. You have to brake and stop very soon after that. And then you're in, and you get, I think when you're on your driving test, you get to have 2 adjustments maximum. So if you don't think you're in, you can look around you. If you're too close to the right line, say when you're in, or like you're basically over it, then you can come forward on first gear, tilt a little bit to the left, and then go forward again, then come back in, and that should get you in. If your car looks like the wheels are on one of the white lines, then that's not considered in the space. But if there's your wheels and then a tiny gap and then the white line, then you're basically in the space, and like the driving test examiner can't argue with that. They'd say you're in the space, so that's fine. Even though in real life you'd leave room for opening doors and stuff, it doesn't really matter. So that's the reverse left bay park. The reverse right bay park has a different reference point. So let's say you come out of a parking space forward, and you go right, straighten up so it's 90 degrees to the bays on your right, and you go forward a bit, make sure you're straight, stop the car, go into reverse, look all around you, obviously this whole time, and then you start to edge backward, and this time you're looking over your right shoulder, and you've got a lot larger space in the window. It's not your blind spot, it's further back than your blind spot, so you're looking quite far back over your shoulder, past the headrest. You've got a larger space that you see there. The reference isn't as good there, so you're looking at this larger porthole, and you've got the bay you want to go into, you've got 2 staggered diagonal lines, and they appear kind of like that. And then that's the point at which you do the full, let me see now, right hand lock, and keep going backwards slowly on the reverse, and after that point your line reference appears in your right blind spot mirror first, and then the left line of the parking bay you're going into appears in the left blind spot mirror after that. So it's reversed from the other way that you go in, and then that's how you use that to straighten up. And then obviously I'm reliant on the camera at the moment, which is annoying, for when to stop. And then you get a chance or two to straighten up and fix your position. So we had some experience of that. At first the Morrison's car park was overly busy, and Tony was worried to the point where he said we're not going to get a chance to do it, and he was about to give up. But I said, well, we're kind of here to do this, so let's just stay and get in a few rather than doing other stuff. So we went round again, and it was calmer, and we got to actually do those manoeuvres. I think I did about 3 to 4 of the left reverse bay park and like 2 of the right reverse bay park. At one point Tony was like trying to say he was forgetful about certain things, and he was trying to say, I've got the brain of a monkey me, but he like spoonerized, and when it got the other way around he went like, I've got the monkey of a brain me. So we had a bit of a laugh about that because he screwed up what he was trying to say to me. But yeah, that all worked pretty well. That seemed easier than the forward bay park. He said the advantages of doing it that way are that you can get your shopping trolley. When you come out of the supermarket, you're opening the boot facing the road, so you can get your shopping trolley and put your shopping stuff in. Oh, that's the advantage of the other one, actually. That's the advantage of the forward bay park. The advantage of the reverse bay park is it's just easier to get out and you have more vision when you're leaving. So yeah, swings and roundabouts, I guess. So we did a rocky hill. After that, we just did a few more roundabouts, I think, and then headed back. So that was a better lesson today than it was on Tuesday. Tuesday was an awful lesson. I kept screwing up and getting stressed and getting everything wrong. Today, apart from nearly getting close to hitting the pedestrian on coming down Rocky Hill the first time, apart from that, it all went pretty good this time. And I'm a lot more comfortable with roundabouts, although I still have a lot to learn of how to deal with them. I think next lesson might involve the parallel park. I don't know what we're doing apart from that, so we'll see. And then he mentioned eventually wants to take me out towards Launceston, and you can do your driving test in Launceston. And I said, it's a bit annoying to do a driving test in Launceston because I won't get any city driving done. I won't get any experience in that. And he says, oh no, don't worry about that. We'll take you to Plymouth to do some city driving, but you can take your test in Launceston. So we'll go to both. So I'm expecting that coming up at some point when we're doing dual carriageways and stuff. One thing he mentioned a few lessons back that he can't do is night driving because he likes to go to bed early. So he said I'd have to get a different driving instructor just to learn night driving lessons, which is a pain in the ass. But maybe when it gets darker in winter and I'm still learning with him, maybe we'll cross over into some dark lessons, like using headlights and looking at different colours on dual carriageways. That's what I want to get used to there. It's a little bit better now. I suppose we're getting the manoeuvres done with all the reversing at the moment, and then we're going to move on to country roads and dual carriageways and things. I don't know, we're probably going to cross over into January before I actually take my test. I'm not quite sure when to book it, because he says there's like quite a lot of waiting lists. But he says you get a chance to cancel if you want to cancel it, if you're not ready before you take it. So I'm not sure when to book it, really. It's still a bit confusing to me. Anyway, that wasn't so brief, was it? That's today's debrief. Thank you for watching. Next lesson, same time, Tuesday and Thursday.
Am I 100 yards or what? Am I close or far or what?
300 yards, center lane.
How you doing? What do you say I buy you a cup of coffee?